back. Missed us yet? Sure you did. Come on, let's talk about Tesla. Tesla increased the price of all Model 3s by $400, including those cars that are off the menu, the standard Model 3 and the long-range rear-wheel drive Model 3. Tesla shares fell after latest news on the trade war front came in. China introduced new tariffs for $60 billion worth of goods from the US. Finished cars were not on the list, but all automakers who rely on sales of US-made cars in China watched their shares fall. Tesla took a hit as well. Its shares fell to a new 2-year low. Tesla wants to add more Atari games to its emulator, as well as games from other companies. They're currently working on porting the Unity and Unreal video game engines. There are many ways to control video games, using the touchscreen, buttons on the steering wheel, or Xbox and PlayStation controllers. Musk added, "We definitely need a racing game using actual car steering wheel and pedals." Unfortunately, Nintendo did not allow Tesla to use Mario Kart. Once again, Tesla plans to implement a new cost-cutting initiative. Elon sent staff a letter saying that he will be examining every expenditure at Tesla, no matter how small, together with a new financial director, Zach Kirhorn. Zach will review and sign every page of outgoing payment and Musk every 10th page. If you know the history of the company, you understand Elon's done this before. And of course, this is understandable when you think about first quarter results. Tesla closed a massive $2.7 billion capital raise recently, but some believe the company can quickly run out of that money. But there's another thing. Tesla and Fiat-Chrysler will merge their parks in Europe so that Fiat can meet emission standards. The company still does not produce enough electric cars. It was believed that the deal would cost several $100 million, but now it turned out that FCA would pay Tesla up to 2.3 billion euros. Dutch police noticed a Tesla that was driving strangely. The car was following a truck when there were no other cars on the highway. The police caught up with the vehicle and saw that the driver was sleeping. His hands were on the steering wheel, so the system did not turn off and the car did not stop. The police siren woke the driver, who turned out to be very drunk. Surely, they've taken his driver's license. What do you think? Is it good that there's an autopilot, which certainly helped to avoid a serious accident? Or did a drunk driver allow himself to get into the car because of autopilot? Anyway, it seems Tesla should come up with additional ways to make sure the driver is paying attention. The latest software update includes a new driving visualization. There's a transition between the different angles depending on the speed, rendering turns and shows an angle when the vehicle is turning, and the car looks sharper now. Tesla is changing autopilot features in the new software update for European cars due to new rules regarding driver assistance systems. Tesla Autopilot on Model X and Model S was previously approved, but now Autopilot must comply with the new regulations. It is strange that the previous version was considered to be quite safe, but the new, improved version was neutered. The first Model 3 owners in Europe could not use autopilot at first due to the same rule. Tesla had to limit how far the steering wheel can turn while auto steer is active. This may reduce auto steer's ability to complete sharp turns. To initiate auto lane change, the turn signal must be engaged, and the lane change must start within 5 seconds of engaging the turn signal. The NTSB released the details of a preliminary investigation of Tesla's third fatal accident with autopilot on. The accident occurred in March last year. The driver turned on the autopilot 10 seconds before the collision and removed his hands from the steering wheel 2 seconds after that. Tesla was traveling at about 68 miles per hour when it struck the semi-trailer. Neither autopilot nor the driver attempted to avoid the collision. Tesla finally bought Maxwell, the company that manufactures ultracapacitors and battery components. The deal was announced earlier this year, but Tesla shares fell since then, so the deal closed at just over $235 million. Now, Tesla officially has the dry electrode technology it was after. Maxwell claims that it provides an energy density of more than 300 watt-hour per kilogram. And in the future, they think it can go up to more than 500 watt-hour per kilogram. Meanwhile, Panasonic says we'll run out of batteries if Tesla starts producing Model Y and expanding its business next year. What will we do then? We need to discuss this with Tesla, as well as producing batteries in China. Remember, Tesla has not yet announced the battery supplier for its electric cars, which they expect to produce at the Gigafactory 3 in China. And this is the total battery capacity in megawatt hours deployed by various companies in March. Well, you can see for yourself. On May 12th, a parked Tesla Model S caught fire in a parking lot in Hong Kong. It took 45 minutes to completely extinguish it. And it is not the first time it happened. Not that long ago, a parked Tesla caught fire in Shanghai. And yes, if you're wondering, this has happened to other car manufacturers as well, also in China. Tesla seems to have found a solution though. The company will release a software update to revise the charge and thermal management settings. This will extend battery life too. Supercharger V3 will be produced at the Gigafactory 2 in New York. Tesla already set up the first production line. Others will be expanded by the end of this year. The company will also be looking into hiring more people. Tesla will also expand the production of solar panels and begin producing and assembling components for superchargers and energy storage. Although Reuters published an article in which an anonymous source from the Gigafactory 2 says it's been more of a Panasonic Gigafactory than Tesla lately. Panasonic produces solar cells that were supposed to be used in Tesla solar roofs, but Tesla only occasionally purchases them, so Panasonic sells them to the company's competitors. The same thing happens with solar modules. Both companies decline to comment. SpaceX. SpaceX filed a lawsuit against the US federal government. The lawsuit is related to launch contracts, but it's not clear which one it is. SpaceX says that the lawsuit contains confidential information. The US Air Force is choosing a supplier for a large contract worth several $billions right now too. SpaceX is preparing for the second stage of Starhopper testing in Boca Chica. It's scheduled for May 28th. At the moment, SpaceX has 2 of the 3 parts of the prototype assembled. They continue to work on welding and pipelines. Also, it turns out that SpaceX is assembling another Starship prototype in Florida. It will be delivered to Cape Canaveral, where it most likely be launched from 39A pad. Starship will be able to reach orbit on its own, without the booster, but in its expendable version, without landing legs, a heat shield, and fuel needed in order to return. The Starlink mission was postponed until May 24th. Until then, the company is updating satellite software and triple-checking all the systems. The 60 Starlink satellites are the heaviest payload that Falcon 9 or Falcon Heavy have ever launched. SpaceX will show the satellite's deployment. It will be slow, since there is no separate deployment mechanism for each satellite. The second stage will rotate, kind of spitting them out. Satellites will deploy their solar panels, and together they will generate 50% more energy than the ISS does. Elon Musk. Elon Musk, XPrize sponsor, presented an award, $10 million to 2 startups, $1 billion and KitKat. Companies will split this award. They won the competition for creating technologies that allow children to learn to read, write, and count on their own in 15 months. Nearly 3,000 children from 170 villages in Tanzania took part in testing those technologies. Before that, 90% of them could not read a word. 15 months later, half of them could read. I like how we finished this digest today. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.